Throughout this course so far, you've worked on your writing and speaking skills quite a bit. You've learned about grammatical rules and transformations, about pronunciation, politeness, descriptive speaking and writing, and showing your emotions. Simply by attending all the previous lessons, no matter the topic, you have been practicing your listening skills by simply listening to my voice. But as you know, some people speak differently to me. There are different accents, speech paces, individual quirks, dialects, and of course you may remember that connected speech plays a huge role in listening. So, you have been exposed to my voice and my personal speech attributes, but in order to maximize your listening skills, you'll need to listen to a range of other speaking styles too. Think back to Module 1, Lesson 8, where you got the chance to practice your listening skills through listening to dialogues and answering IELTS-style questions about them. Today we have a similar goal in mind. However, this time you'll be exposed to different accents and different types of conversations. So I hope you're ready to brush up on your listening skills again, because this will immensely benefit you in your IELTS listening section, as well as, of course, in real life scenarios. This lesson will give you the opportunity to practice deriving information and meaning from intermediate difficulty level spoken texts. You'll also practice answering questions about intermediate difficulty spoken texts. But before we begin, let's quickly chat about your Lesson 7 challenge. In the last lesson, I challenged you to change as much of your reading content as possible to English texts. For example, you could buy an English newspaper, read English articles online, or read some English short stories. How did it go? Did you find it less challenging than last time? Could you extract the gist of a text more easily? Could you find specific information in a text? Are you going to continue reading English content? I really hope your answer to that last question is yes, because truly the best way to practice a skill in a foreign language is to fully immerse yourself in the language by consuming as much content from as many sources as possible. Now, you might remember that in the last reading lesson in Module 1, we spoke about the importance of listening practice and which factors might make listening a bit more challenging. Before we begin with our listening practice, we're going to recap these factors, because it is truly important to understand the challenges you may be confronted with so that you can best prepare yourself to navigate these challenges and optimize your skills. So, do you remember, what is connected speech? I'll give you some hints. It's something that happens when we speak. It's natural and unconscious. In other words, native speakers and advanced second language speakers don't think about it. They just do it. Plus, it makes listening more challenging if you're not used to it. So, now that I've given you these hints, do you remember what connected speech is? Well, when we speak about connected speech, we refer to how pronunciation changes in everyday speech. Spoken language is quite different to written language. When people speak, words no longer exist in isolation. Words connect and sounds change. Now, in the last listening lesson, we looked at these examples. When people speak at a normal pace, Catch them turns to catch 'em. Going to turns to gonna. Want to turns to wanna. Sometimes we even insert sounds. For example, car is turns to car is. The R sound is inserted. Now, of course, this is only relevant for UK-based accents where the R sound isn't pronounced at the end of a word, like car. In this lesson, you'll be exposed to connected speech. Try and see if you can find examples of connected speech. Okay, now let's recap the second listening factor, accents. A lot of you probably already know what accents are. All writing looks the same, no matter who wrote it. However, speech is affected by accents. So, what are accents? Well, accents are different ways of speaking depending on nationality or region. For example, you've got American accents, British accents, South African accents, etc. In this lesson, you'll be exposed to the American accent. This is a very common accent that you've probably heard a lot of on television. You might remember that in the last listening lesson, you listened to British accents. So today we are changing it up a bit, because remember that in your IELTS listening section, you'll be exposed to many different accents. The last question I want to ask you is, what is an idiosyncrasy? A little hint is that it has to do with individuals instead of groups. Do you remember what it is? Well, idiosyncrasies are individual speech habits. Each person speaks differently. Listening practice can prepare you so that you can understand most people's speech quirks. Now, before we get into listening practice, let's talk about what's coming up in Module 3, Lesson 1. Yes, you heard that right. We will soon be moving on to Module 3 of this course. You have come so far and you should be very proud of yourself. In Module 3, Lesson 1, you'll learn how to talk about hypothetical situations. In other words, the what-ifs. What if you win the lottery? What if it rains tomorrow? The sentences we use to talk about hypothetical situations are called conditionals. And there's a very specific structure to each type of conditional, and I will guide you through it. So, I hope you are looking forward to Module 3, Lesson 1. I know I am. Okay, finally, let's get into the listening practice. Now, you may remember from the last listening lesson that the IELTS listening section follows a specific structure. Let's quickly discuss that again because it's important that you understand the structure. The IELTS listening section consists of 4 parts. Each part has 10 questions, so there are 40 questions in total. Each part is a separate recording, so there are 4 recordings in total. There will be recordings of conversations between 2 or more people, and there will be recordings of monologues. A monologue is just one person speaking about a specific topic, like a university lecturer. You will come across various accents like British, American, Canadian, Australian, and New Zealand accents. You will write your answers on the question paper and then be given time to transfer your answers onto your answer sheet at the end of the session. The listening section will take 30 minutes and you will be given 10 minutes transfer time to transfer your answers onto the answer sheet. There will be various question types like sentence completion, flowchart completion, multiple choice, matching, and so on. Remember that poor spelling and grammar will be penalized, so make sure you check your work. Since this is your second listening practice session for this course, in this lesson you will only listen to 2 recordings instead of 4. There will only be 20 questions instead of 40. Both recordings are conversations between 2 people, so you won't be listening to any monologues just yet. Like I mentioned before, the speakers in both recordings have American accents. There will only be 1 question type for this lesson, sentence completion. This lesson is the second stage of your introduction to listening tests to ease you into it a little bit more. You'll notice that as you progress within this course, you will be exposed to slightly more challenging practice listening tests to improve your listening skills gradually. Now, take out a pen and some paper because it's time to practice. You will now listen to 2 recordings and be given a chance to answer questions about them. Write down the answers while you listen to the recordings. Good luck. In the first recording, a woman interviews a man for a position as a junior copywriter. Please take 15 seconds to read the questions. Great. Now listen to the recording.
Hi, Adam.
Hey there, how are you?
Great, thanks. I'm Alexandra. I'm the chief copywriter here at Easy Copywriting. It's lovely to have you here with us. Please take a seat.
Thanks, great to meet you, Alexandra.
Can I get you some water?
Some water would be great, actually, thanks.
Sure. Still or sparkling?
Sparkling, please.
Sure. Here you go.
Thank you so much.
No problem. So, I see here you're currently a freelance writer. Are you aware that this is a full-time position?
Yes, I am aware.
So you're wanting to move away from freelancing?
Yeah, it's been great, but I'd like a bit more stability in my life.
Financial stability?
Not necessarily. I mean, yeah, money does play a part, but I think I'm missing the routine and structure of a full-time job. Also, the human interaction. It's great to work with colleagues, you know? Especially as a writer. It's great to bounce ideas off one another whenever you're in a bit of a creative slump, you know?
Yeah, I completely get that. Working in teams is quite a huge part of the job here. Of course, the content you'd be producing would be your own work. You'd have deadlines to meet as a team. Would you consider yourself a team player?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if years of freelancing has taught me anything, it's that working in a team is really beneficial.
And why do you say so?
Well, like I said, I like to bounce ideas off one another. But at the same time, you motivate each other to reach goals and achieve your highest potential.
I completely agree. So, tell me, Adam, what kind of content have you written before? I mean, I've seen a sample of your writing, but I'm sure that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, look, when you say what kind of content, do you mean like types of topics that I'd write about?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, for some reason, I ended up writing for tech companies a lot. So a lot of my writing is about technical equipment like headphones, laptops, and stuff like that.
Okay, that kind of writing experience is quite useful. We do write a lot of content for tech companies. What companies did you write for?
Well, when it came to tech companies, I wrote for Anapur a lot.
Anapur? How do you spell that?
That's Anapor.
Ah, okay, it actually rings a bell. Okay, so on another note, how do you typically deal with conflict?
Well, I really dislike conflict. I tend to avoid it.
And do you find that your avoidance strategy works?
Yeah, I don't really find myself in situations of conflict very often.
I see. And what makes you unique, Adam?
I'd probably say my writing style. My work stood out for a lot of companies, and that's why I had such strong long-term relationships with these companies.
I see. What would you say is your biggest weakness?
I guess sometimes I struggle to adapt to change. When I get used to something being a certain way, I find it difficult to get used to a new process or way of being. I mean, of course, I eventually get there, but the initial stages of getting used to it can be a little tricky for me.
Now take 30 seconds to check your answers. Please take 15 seconds to read the questions. Now listen to the recording.
A lot of people are like that. I sometimes even find myself struggling to embrace change, but unfortunately that is the reality of our company, always growing and changing. So it's good to hear that you eventually get there nonetheless. Anyway, it says here you went to college at UCLA.
Yeah, I did study at UCLA. It was a great experience.
It is a great university. Quite odd that you ended up in the copywriting industry when you studied, what is it again? Science.
Well, yeah, I was really into science, and I guess it does help me to think critically and logically about things. But I discovered a love for writing a few years after college, and it just kind of stuck.
How many years after college did you realize the world of science isn't for you?
I'd say about 3 years after college.
And what kind of work were you doing before getting into copywriting?
I was a research assistant.
Wow, quite a career change. It would actually be good to have someone with such a varied background as part of our team. I'm sure you'd bring some great insight to the table.
Yeah, for sure.
Besides writing, what are you passionate about?
I'd say I'm pretty passionate about music.
Making music or listening to it?
Making. I play the guitar. But I guess also listening to it. I pretty much love all music from before I was born. Is that weird?
Oh, not weird at all. I think some of the best music was made back before then. What year was it that you were born?
1989.
Ah, yes. Before we wrap up, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I guess I just have one. What are the work hours like? Are they set hours, or can you just sort of do them in your own time?
The hours are pretty much set in stone, though we do allow some flexibility if the situation calls for it. The workday is generally from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m., and you get a 1-hour lunch break.
Ah, okay. Well, other than that, I have no other questions.
All right then, Adam. Thanks so much for coming today. I'll be in touch soon.
Now take 30 seconds to check your answers. In the second recording, a woman phones a receptionist to make an appointment with a physiotherapist. Please take 15 seconds to read the questions. Great. Now listen to the recording.
Henry James Physiotherapy. Jason speaking. How may I assist you?
Hey there, it's Samantha speaking. I'd like to make an appointment with Henry, please.
Yeah, sure thing. When would you like to see him?
I'm free next week, Monday in the morning. Does that work, or is it too short notice?
Luckily, we just had a last-minute cancellation, so I can squeeze you in at 10:30. Does that work for you?
Yep, that works.
Great. What's your name and surname again?
Samantha Rogers.
And how do you spell that?
That's Samantha, Samantha, Rogers, Rodgers.
Okay, wonderful. And your contact number, please?
555-0121.
Great, thank you. I see here on the system you're a new patient. I do have a few questions I need to ask you quickly if you could spare a few moments of your time. It's just so I can fill out the personal details form on the system for you and you don't have to do it when you come back in. It can be a little tedious, and we're just trying to streamline the process.
Okay, sure.
Thank you so much, Samantha. Okay, let's see. First thing I do need to know is, did anyone refer you?
I was referred by my doctor.
General practitioner, I assume.
Yes, my general practitioner. It's Dr. Smith just down the road from your practice.
Okay, great. And what's the nature of your injury or ailment?
I sprained my ankle. I did a pretty hardcore workout at the boxing gym, and clearly it didn't work out well for me.
That's unfortunate. Do you like boxing?
Yeah, boxing is a great sport. I find it's a good way for me to relieve some of my stress and anxiety. Plus, it really helps me to stay fit and healthy. Looks like I might not be able to do boxing for a while, though, because of this ankle of mine.
Yeah, I totally get it. I did a bit of boxing myself a few years back. But yeah, we'll see what the physiotherapist says. For all you know, you'll be back in action in no time.
I sure hope so.
Now take 30 seconds to check your answers. Please take 15 seconds to read the questions. Great. Now listen to the recording.
Another thing I need to know is if you have health insurance.
Yeah, I'm with Blue Cross.
Okay, great. And what plan?
Comprehensive cover.
Okay, well that's great. Looks like your appointment charge will be covered in full.
Excellent. It's times like these I'm grateful to have insurance. You know how expensive medical bills can get.
Yeah, it's really good to have health insurance, especially for emergencies.
For sure. Anyway, is there anything else you need to know?
Yeah, sorry. I know there's a lot of questions. Hope that's okay with you? I just need to know if you're the main member of your health insurance.
Yeah, I'm the main member.
And do you have any dependents?
Just my son.
And what's your date of birth, Samantha?
I was born on the 12th of December 1980.
Great, thanks.
Anything else?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I just need a few more things. Your home address?
272 Mains Avenue.
How do you spell that?
That's 272 Mains, M-A-I-N-S, Avenue.
Okay, yeah, I can see it here on the GPS. You're quite close to us.
Yep. Hold on. Just a quick question about the location of your practice. Are you physically inside the Blue Valley Mall, or are you just close by? It's hard to tell just by looking at the GPS.
Ah, yes, well, we do get that question a lot. We're inside the Blue Valley Mall.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Is there anything else you need to know from me?
Nope. Well, that's it for now. I've updated the system with your information. Thank you for your patience.
No problem.
Okay, goodbye then, Samantha.
Bye.
Bye.
Now take 30 seconds to check your answers. Well done on completing your second listening practice for this course. Let's check your answers now. Alexandra is the Chief Copywriter at Easy Copywriting. She is interviewing Adam, who has applied for the Junior Copywriting position. Adam would like to move away from a freelance writing career and transition into a full-time writing job. Adam says he works well with other people and therefore considers himself a team player. He used to write a lot of content for a technology company called Anapol. Adam went to a university called UCLA. Alexandra finds it quite interesting that Adam studied science but ended up as a writer. Before becoming a writer, he was a research assistant. Adam is passionate about music. He plays the guitar. Samantha would like to make an appointment with a physiotherapist named Henry. She would like to see him on Monday morning. Samantha's last name is Rogers. Her contact number is 555-0121. The reason Samantha would like to see the physiotherapist is because she sprained her ankle while working out at a boxing gym. Samantha's health insurance provider is Blue Cross. She is the main member of her health insurance plan, and her son is her only dependent. Samantha was born on 12 December in the year 1980. Her home address is 272 Mains Avenue. The physiotherapy practice is located inside the Blue Valley Mall. And those are all the questions. How many answers did you get right? It's okay if you didn't get them all. That's why you practiced. Remember that there are more listening practice lessons coming up later in this course, where you will be given another opportunity to practice. For your lesson challenge this week, try to replace all your usual viewing content, series, videos, etc., with English content. For example, start watching a new English series, or if you're already watching one, turn off the subtitles. The purpose of this challenge is to help you get used to different forms of spoken English. Everyone speaks differently, and sometimes it can be challenging to understand native speakers. The more you familiarize yourself with spoken English in your everyday life, the easier it will be for you to understand spoken English in your real life interactions.